Well, good Wednesday morning. I'm meteorologist Chris Higgins. Everything's still on track with our winter storm. Now upgraded now to a winter storm warning for most of the area. I don't want to get into the semantics of who's under a warning versus an advisory because all that separates the two is a half inch to an inch of snow. Essentially, everybody's going to experience dangerous winter weather conditions by late this evening and especially overnight tonight and during the day on Thursday. We're going to use the NAM to track this storm system because in general I like the way it looks. It's not a whole lot different from the GFS, and I have some better tracking tools that we can use here using the Earl Baker website. But this is the 6-hour rainfall, or liquid equivalent anyway, and surface features. The inverted surface trough extends from the Dakotas down the Missouri River into central Kansas. And you can see it's generating precipitation over the 6-hour period ending at noon or so, to the tune of about a quarter of an inch or so, and a quarter to a third of an inch over eastern Nebraska and western Iowa, and all along that inverted surface trough. Let's go ahead and push you forward in time from midday today till about 6 o'clock this evening. Again, this is area where snow has already fallen, or precipitation has already fallen. You can see the bullseye right around a quarter of an inch or so on southwest Iowa into northern Missouri. Inverted trough running right in here through western Missouri at that point. There's going to be a split in the heavy snow band. That appears more and more likely. One band will stay up here to the north, with another developing a little further south here in advance of the surface low, and also in response to the low and mid-level warm air advection. You can really see that showing up at the midnight time frame. This is precipitation through the 6-hour period from this evening through midnight tonight. And you can see there are two bullseyes, one over central Iowa, central and southeast Iowa, then a bit of a break, and another one here right along the I-70 corridor. That's the warm air advection, and you can see the inverted trough is going to run somewhere right in here where I'm tracing out through Missouri, with a surface low feature on that, or a wave, riding south, along or south of Interstate 70 into the St. Louis metro area. The maximized area of warm air advection in this zone appears to be along the I-70 corridor and along and just left of the track of the surface low pressure system. Continue forward in time, and you can see how that progresses. The warm air advection zone snow aided by the upper level jet stream energy moving through the area late tonight through the tomorrow morning's rush hour period, and then the wraparound snow working its way back north of the upper level system, which at this point should be somewhere over southeast Iowa or extreme northeast Missouri or west central Illinois. Next frame, take you to 18Z tomorrow. The main thrust of the warm air advection is now well east. We're starting to get the influence, have been having the influence of the dry slot punching in on the south side, but we're still getting some light precip indicated by the model, and I'll talk about why that is coming up in a bit. And then finally, as we get into the 0Z time frame, or for Thursday evening, notice how we have the main warm air advection precipitation and along the front out to the east, surface low in eastern Indiana, then this wrapping around of the moisture, more significant moisture around the upper level system near Chicago. But we have this very consistent signal that's been showing up, precipitation Wednesday, or rather Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, in what is a trowel-like feature, and I'll tell you again why that is there coming up in just a second. All right, two quick fine points I want to make before we get to the highlights of the storm. There are two aspects of the storm, Thursday morning and then again Thursday afternoon, that could very well give us an extra jolt of snowfall. We've been talking about this thermal ribbon, the phrenogenetic forcing, if you will, on the tail end of the system, at least the first wave, Thursday morning, probably like 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. or somewhere in that time frame, depending on where you are. This is the NAM forecast at midnight tonight. Notice out over central Missouri how low levels we have a tight thermal gradient developing and tightening up here over central Missouri. The atmosphere is saturated there as well, and that tightening of the thermal gradient will help support a robust area of lift in low levels in a saturated zone, where there is also the perfect temperature alignment for large snow making, or large snowflake making potential there, with those temperatures between -8 and -16 degrees Celsius. That's at midnight tonight over central Missouri. We'll march that forward in time and take you to 6 a.m. in the morning. You can see that feature lines up pretty much right on top of St. Louis and to the points north and south marching off to the east. It also shows up, incidentally, if I take you to the 850 map for the same time period, this is tomorrow morning, you can see that thermal ribbon marching across St. Louis along the I-44 corridor at about 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's along and into that band, which could be fairly narrow, but very impressive snowfall as a last burst of snow with the main surge of snow in the system. The second part of the backside of the system, if you will, are of interest for Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening is what we call a trough of warm air aloft. It's where the moisture in the higher octane air literally wraps all the way around the system and then comes back around the northwest side. One of the key features we look at that would indicate that is something called theta E advection. And these light pink lines, you can barely see them over western Iowa into northern Missouri at 6 a.m. tomorrow. It's an indication of higher theta E air being brought in. That moisture and slightly warmer air wrapping around the north and now west side of the system. Normally would look for that a little bit higher, but this storm system is so cold it looks like it's setting up just a bit lower. So there is a signal of additional band of snow wrapping around the backside of the system, starting at in the morning hours over Iowa and extreme northern Missouri. But look what happens when I bring you to the midday hours. Theta E advection drops rapidly to the south and southeast, approaching the St. Louis area. And if I take you further ahead in time towards the evening, that theta E advection drops even further to the south and southeast. And you can see that whole ribbon rotating to the south-southeast. That's a saturated layer, theta E advection, temperatures between roughly -10 and -20 degrees Celsius. We have a cyclonically curved atmosphere supporting additional low-level convergence, and I think that's going to help support continued snow Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening. Hard to say how much additional accumulation might be realized out of that, but a possibility of an additional inch, maybe in spots 2 inches of snow as a result of that trough of warm air aloft rotating around the backside of the system. And this would be mainly areas along and north of a line from, say, Farmington. Let's go out Jefferson City to somewhere between Farmington and Festus over towards Mount Vernon in Illinois. So here are the overall highlights of the storm system. The snow develops west of St. Louis by late this afternoon. Will be spreading into and through the metro area during the evening rush hour, so there will be impacts to the evening rush hour. It looks like it'll cover the rest of our counties over in southern Illinois by, at the latest, 9 o'clock this evening. Steady snow is going to last at least about 6 hours, maybe as long as 10 hours in spots roughly from 10 p.m. through about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Within that steadier band, where it will fluctuate a bit, there will be 2 heavier bursts of snow, one towards the beginning, which will be later this evening and early tonight, then what could be probably the most intense band of snow through the entire event. Looks like it may line up and be a short-lived event for about an hour or so right around the morning rush hour on Thursday. High liquid-to-snow ratios with this system still look likely. 15 to perhaps 20 to 1. Certainly 15 to 1 is a safe bet, and that'll make for a fairly big fluff factor on this thing, with totals likely to reach between 3 inches on the low side, and that would be most likely south of St. Louis, to as much as 5 or 6 inches in the metro area. So a 3 to 6 inch range looks like a good solid bet with this storm system. The snow's not the whole story, though. The strong winds developing late tonight and through the day on Thursday, coupled with additional light falling snow, will create near blizzard-like conditions with blowing snow and falling snow, especially out in rural locations away from the city. But even within the urban environment, reduced visibilities and very dangerous wind chills are likely at times through the day on Thursday. Additional accumulation on the tail end of this thing with some wraparound snow late Thursday into Thursday evening could total an additional inch, the way things look right now. So this is a high-impact winter storm for the St. Louis area. No matter which side of it you're on, it's all snow, wind, and cold, some of the most brutal winter weather we've seen in St. Louis in quite some time.